The Xiaomi Redmi Note 2, the successor to the very well received Redmi Note. So is this phone worth your attention? Well, let's find out. But before we do, if this is your first time here or in case you just can't remember, my name is Ash, this is C4E Tech and you're watching my full review of the Xiaomi Redmi Note 2. Let's get started. Xiaomi's revamped the build a bit this time around. It feels similar to the Mi 4i and the Mi 4C that came before it. The matte polycarbonate back's a nice touch. It feels built better than its predecessor. Do note that the back's still removable and inside we find dual SIM slots and a micro SD card slot. There's also a user replaceable 3060 mAh battery. Xiaomi's worked on reducing the overall footprint of the device too. The Redmi Note 2 is shorter and narrower than its predecessor thanks in large to the reduced bezels, and the 8.3mm thickness and 160g weight means it's also considerably slimmer and lighter, meaning it's more ergonomic. All this despite the fact that it still retains a similar sized 5.5-inch display. So with regards to build and design, I'm gonna hail this as a job well done by Xiaomi. The 5.5-inch display now has a higher resolution, Full HD, so the pixel density is increased to 401 pixels per inch. This display is much better this time around. The colors are richer and it's even a tad brighter, but sadly there's no mention of protection and the glass remains reflective. This means the display is not too legible outdoors, but that being said, it's still manageable and better than its predecessor. As for the audio quality, the internal speaker and the audio via the 3.5mm headphone jack were both above average. Not great, but not bad at the same time. The cellular reception and call quality though were good. Now, underneath the hood, the Redmi Note 2 is powered by the MediaTek MT6795 or the Helio X10 chip. That's 8 Cortex A53 cores clocked at 2 GHz each on the 16GB variant, 2.2 GHz each on this 32GB variant, which also happens to be known as the Redmi Note 2 Prime. The PowerVR G6200 handles the GPU duties, and there's also 2 GB of RAM on board. The Note 2 benchmarks quite well, and with intensive real-life scenarios like gaming, even under the balanced mode, the Note 2 managed to hold its own. And under said balanced mode, it managed not to heat up either. For a more in-depth look at gaming on the Redmi Note 2, do check out our gaming test. I'll leave a card here along with a link in the description below. Now, all this is powered by a 3060 mAh battery. Yes, it's a little smaller than the one found on its predecessor, and sadly the battery life on the Redmi Note 2 fails to flatter. On a looping video playback test, the Redmi Note 2 lasted just an abysmal 6 hours before running out of juice. With moderate usage, I was able to stretch it to last through a work day, but more often than not, you'd be looking to plug it in before the end of the day. And on that note, let's now get to the camera. The Redmi Note 2 sports a 13-megapixel rear camera with a single LED flash and face detection autofocus. It is indeed quite quick to focus and the shutter speed's fast too. The user interface should be instantly familiar to anyone who's ever used a Xiaomi phone in the last year or two. The images shot with this camera turned out decent. The detail levels were average, noise levels are low. This camera gets white balance and exposure right more often than not. Colors are also quite accurate. The dynamic range though could have been a bit better. As far as videos go, the Redmi Note 2 can shoot 1080p videos at 30 frames per second and the resulting footage is smooth, but the quality is similar to that of still images. Average detail, a little soft at times, colors, white balance and exposure are good. The dynamic range is lacking a little bit. The 5-megapixel front-facing shooter though is decent enough for selfies. And with that, let's now talk about software. The Redmi Note 2 runs on Android 5.0.2 Lollipop with Xiaomi's custom MIUI 7 on top. All of Xiaomi's regular MIUI features return. For example, the miniature screen to ease single-handed usage. We also have the theme store on offer with an endless array of themes that you can even mix and match to get that unique look for your phone. Everything from the notification bar to the dialer to even the boot animations and fonts can be changed. Xiaomi's attention to detail, I know I've said this many a time before, but it deserves a mention. Xiaomi's attention to detail is impeccable. Right from the way the home screens are managed to handling bulk app uninstalls or the security app providing you a huge level of control over what's installed on your phone and how these act. Easy control over notifications is another feature worth mentioning. I could go on and on talking about the functionality that MIUI brings to the table along with the level of granular control that it provides. Frankly, MIUI is one of the most feature-packed overlays that's actually intuitive and easy to use. But that being said, it just might not be for everyone, because it is as far as you'll get from stock Android. You're not going to find an app drawer or even signs of material design here. And MIUI is quite a heavy interface, so how it fares is usually dependent on the hardware underneath. On say an underpowered phone like the Mi 4i, MIUI is an absolute horror to use. But thankfully the Helio X10 chip underneath performs very well. Remember that this is the same chip that powered the HTC One M9 Plus, a phone that was priced almost 4 to 5 times higher at launch. Anyway, this makes the Redmi Note 2 the third Xiaomi phone in a row that I've reviewed where MIUI has been an absolute pleasure to use. Well, yes, it's not as smooth as on the Mi 4C or the Mi Note Pro. You might occasionally notice a slowdown or two, but that's expected given the pricing. And even then, the slowdowns are more the exception rather than the norm. Overall, MIUI 7 on the Redmi Note 2 is great, fast and fluid without a lot of lag. I'd say job well done, Xiaomi. So, with that, let's talk price. And the Redmi Note 2 is priced at about $140 in China and should be available to ship for about $170 internationally. I've found Merimobiles to be an excellent site to shop from, and I've been personally working with them for a couple of years now. If you do want to pick a Redmi Note 2 or a Note 2 Prime up, I'll leave a direct link in the description below. I would personally recommend picking the Prime up because the price difference is about $10, and for this $10 you get a 10% boost on your processor clock and double the internal storage. So my 2 cents here, I really like the Redmi Note 2. Yes, the battery life is not good. There's no other way to put it, it's just not good. But go back and watch my Mi 4 review, you'll see me saying something similar. The battery life on the Mi 4 at launch was not as bad as this, but it wasn't great either. Xiaomi, while they do take their own sweet time updating Android versions, they do provide bug fixes and MIUI updates constantly. Weekly if you're on the dev ROM. Almost monthly if you're on the stable variant of the ROM. And I expect the battery life to improve, if not by a lot, but by at least 20% in the next few months, because that's how Xiaomi's track record has been. That's what happened to the Mi 4 and the Mi Note Pro as well. In fact, I do have a second review of the Mi 4 where I revisited about 6 months after the initial review, and if you can see, the battery life had improved by quite a bit. So let's take that out of the equation now. Even with the sad battery life, I do feel the Redmi Note 2 has a lot to offer at this price range. It's possibly the best phone that you can buy at this price. So there you have it, my review of the Redmi Note 2. You know what to do. If you don't, if you like it, if you dislike it, head on over to the comments below if you have any constructive criticism to offer. And if you have any video requests, hit me up on Twitter at C4eTech. That's where I'm most active these days. And for more videos like this, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. So that's it. Thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, this is Ash here from C4eTech signing off. You guys have a great day. Bye bye now.